So, Margie, we met on one of the walks that was going through the state here to get rid of the pipeline, stop the pipeline, and we got talking about things and got the idea to make a video of people's plight facing the pipeline. So if you just want to give us your full name and where we are here in the state of Massachusetts.
Sure, my name's Margie Babbit and I live in Northfield, Massachusetts. And I was contacted back in February when they wanted to survey I have another little piece of property in Irving that abuts the Northfield, and they wanted to go through there with the pipeline. So when they came, they wanted me to sign right there, and I didn't know anything about it. Wanted to do some research, and I asked them to please give me some time so that I can research, and then I'll get back to them. And it's been, I don't know, it was a week, and they wanted an answer, called back, and then I said I really haven't looked up enough, and then he called back again, and by this time there were buzzwords going around and who was being contacted and what this was all about, and I was learning more, and I wasn't liking it. So
what did you learn that you didn't like, Margie?
Oh my gosh, that the whole forest would be disrupted, and since this piece of land is surrounded by the state forest, just to even get to the piece, they'd have to disturb the state forest and my property, which is a forested property. So, and I heard about leaks in the pipe that could happen, and I read about the dangers to the water supply, and it just would be detrimental to the environment and to me, and I didn't really want it at all. And if it was a question of getting more electricity here, I wasn't opposed to spending some money to put solar in or anything that would help me, but not to have the pipeline come through.
Yeah. So how many miles would it have been on your particular Irving?
That's a 5.5 acre piece. And when they're talking, which is very interesting, 50 feet for the easement, but then that's another 50 to 100 feet outside that easement. So when you look at that on a 5.5 acre property, what's left?
And then what would they do to maintain, after they dug it up, dynamited it, or whatever they have to do to put it in, then they have that easement that you cannot do anything with.
That's right. Can't do anything with it. So
you couldn't put trees on it, you couldn't even have a...
No.
Yeah.
No, it was very disturbing. And all the animals, I do have endangered species here. I have had a forester come out, and I have the spotted salamanders and the spotted box turtles. So I know that it would disrupt nature. I have vernal pools on that property. And
what lives in the vernal pools?
Oh, the salamanders.
The salamanders,
And then I found out when you're in a forested area and then you're clearing that, it brings in the light. Well, when you're bringing in the light, you're also bringing in the invasive species. So the bittersweet and the buckthorn can easily come through.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
So I found that out too. So
I hadn't thought about the issue of bringing in the light. That's very interesting.
So it was really a no-win situation.
And then they'd have to maintain that, so they would do some aerial spraying of chemicals and things, and they wouldn't necessarily let you know what they were even spraying.
No.
So that property would be
trash. Yeah, and I would be still paying taxes on it. And this is, my property that, let's say I want to sell it, or well, actually I want it to go to my daughter at some point, the value would go tremendously down. So
that would be worthless. Actually,
worthless.
It would be worthless. Yeah.
Because it would affect it.
So when you heard all of this, what was your response?
Oh, I was very upset about it. I just couldn't believe it. I was just shocked. I had no idea that they would want to go through such pristine property and just dissolve the whole environment that we have here. So after learning about it and learning other people who they contacted, I said, okay, now what can I do? And I had some great ideas. Of course, I wrote all the representatives. That was number one. And somebody said, well, you could put a sign up. I said, right away I got a sign up. A homemade one, but I got one up. And then I thought, well, what else can I do? And they said, well, you could distribute signs. So that's when I actually had 2 suppliers for signs, and as soon as I distributed a batch, I would get another batch. And as of now, I've distributed in 10 towns.
How many signs do you think you've distributed?
Oh my gosh, I don't know for sure.
Maybe 100.
I think at least 100.
At least
At
100.
least 100.
Wow.
Because they're all over.
Mm-hmm.
They're all over, and I feel really proud of that.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And then have you been to any meetings where they've made presentations?
I've been to meetings, yes. I've been to the Kinder Morgan presentations, yes, I have. The best one I really liked was the one in Irving, actually.
I was there, yeah.
Yes, you were. You had a wonderful speech, and I really liked what Denise Andrews had to say.
Right, that's right.
Representative,
State Representative
Yes.
Denise Andrews, that's right.
To have an opposition
That's right.
speaker to what they were presenting.
Right.
And so,
So you heard Cole Morgan.
No, not Cole Morgan.
Kinder
Morgan.
You heard Kinder Morgan.
Yeah.
And then you heard Representative Denise Andrews and Hattie. And what did you take out of that? Those 2 sides.
oh, I was so happy there were 2 sides. Because in the past, there haven't been. And I'm going to another one on August 19th in my town in Northfield.
That's right.
And there's only one side. It's one-sided presentation. And we can't stand up and speak our questions in Northfield. We send in our questions to the town clerk, and then we have a moderator,
That's right.
I guess, who will select the questions. So, you know, it's a little different venue for each one. But I was very happy that Denise was there.
So what most struck you from the Kinder Morgan presentation?
Slick. Sorry. It just, I don't know. I didn't resonate with it. I didn't feel good about it. There were people in the audience that knew facts, and they were shouting out, no, that's not true, or, I mean, not that I knew those facts, but there were people that knew in the opposition of what they were speaking about.
So you never did sign to give them permission to survey?
I never did, no. And then they, of course, sent another letter and said, well, we're going to the DPU if you don't sign.
Oh, really?
Oh, yes. It was like a threatening letter. And
wow.
I said, no. I said, I'm sorry, I'm not signing this either. Right. And then got a follow-up question, telephone conversation, and I said, look, I sent that to you, registered mail. I said, you've got it now. You know how I feel and where I stand. So I haven't heard from him since then.
And do you have neighbors and people around the community that are also being impacted by the pipeline that you know about?
Yes, yeah, a couple of houses down, there is a fellow whose land it's going through, and wants under the river.
Whoa.
It's just right through a river. It's just
Which river?
ridiculous. Mossbrook.
Ah.
So.
Well,
Wow.
the Connecticut.
Oh, I know. That would be horrible. Horrible.
Yeah.
I mean.
So they want to put it right under the Mossbrook River.
Now
Wow.
there is a fellow down there. Hopefully you get to interview him today. He knows more about that.
Right.
And he will tell you. He'll show it.
John, yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
he'll show you.
Yeah.
Exactly where.
That's right. So, so you have ally. I mean, I see signs up and down the road here too.
Oh, we all feel.
Yeah.
We are all against it.
Yeah.
We
I
are all against
haven't
it.
really met anybody that was for it, really.
Well, there was a fellow in at that Irving meeting that stood up, and I think he was for it.
Yeah. So,
But I don't know him, so I can't speak for him.
So do you have like a lot of anxiety about this pipeline?
I do have a lot of anxiety.
Yeah.
Yes, because you
Yeah.
don't wonder. This is our future. This is the land. This is Mother Earth. I just don't agree with fracking anyway. I mean, all the chemicals being shot into the earth and all the pressure, and then having this high pressure gas come through. And I've heard that these pipelines out here in the country are not going to be
As robust, yeah.
as the one in populated areas. Now that scares me. So what if there's a leak out there and you can't smell it? You can't smell this methane right away. There'll just be an explosion. And I understand that the fire departments can't handle an explosion of that magnitude. They're not,
No.
they don't have the capabilities. So that scares me. And especially as you see where I live.
Right.
You know, I'm about 7.5 miles from, water, fire departments. So, take a while. And then a little bit farther for the land. So,
I was interested at that Irving meeting to hear how many people cared about the fracking issue. They really got the connection. Like Massachusetts doesn't allow fracking in our state,
right.
but they're allowing this fracked gas that's devastating Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Devastating. People can't drink their water and all that pollution.
And fire out of the faucet.
Yeah. And they're allowing that fracked gas to come through the state, even though we don't allow, we recognize the health and environmental damage of fracking. So but I was interested how many people brought that up at that meeting. About the frack.
Yeah. There are a lot of knowledgeable people here in Western Mass. You know, there are a lot of people that are going to get behind this and fight and fight.
Right. And so what else have you been doing besides selling 100 lawn signs and buttons?
And giving away a lot too.
Petitions and, yeah.
Oh my gosh. I this is my summer vacation. I pretty much spent but I've loved it. We had a wonderful time with the walk. That was
Right.
the other thing. And I was
Right.
the sag wagon.
Right.
I carried the first aid kit. And you missed out because you left early. But I had cheese and crackers and fruit.
Yeah.
And I know I had made 2 homemade cookies batches. And
Right.
it was
Nice.
we had a great smorgasbord up at South Mountain,
Right.
halfway.
Right.
So, and I enjoyed
Boy,
that.
that was a hilly walk.
That was a hilly walk. Yes, it was.
But it was gorgeous. And how about those houses? And they would point across the road. Oh, that's
yes.
where the creek is, and that's where they're going to be putting it.
know.
Yeah. People all up and down that road were devastated.
I know it.
Yeah.
I know, it's very sad.
Yeah.
But shall we prevail and stop it?
Oh, stop the pipeline.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, we shall. Absolutely.
Yeah.
We have to. I know there are a lot of good people that are working on our behalf.
Well, 25 towns have passed referendums.
I just heard that.
25 towns saying no pipeline
Yes.
in this town. And I think
Yeah.
Northfield will do it
I
too.
think they will too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there are people definitely in Northfield that are very knowledgeable like you and very opposed and very activist.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, to imagine what their equipment would be, the steam shovels, they would be dynamiting places.
What?
So the alternative is bringing democracy back to America through the towns and cities of Massachusetts.
Absolutely.
Could be a plan.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
So let me just ask you if there's any last thing we haven't asked you about that you might want to say about how we're going to stop this pipeline, your involvement in it.
Oh, well, whatever I can do to help, as I've said all along, and that's why I just dove right in. There was just no stopping. This was, I feel really passionate about it and wanted to do whatever I could do. And I've really enjoyed it a lot. I've found it rather magical to find people that have something to say and or something to contribute or want to help. I mean, when the climate writers came, right away they jumped in. Give us some petitions. We'll stand at the farmers market and we'll get signatures. So not only were they educating us about what they're about, but about the pipeline. And they found that out here in Western Mass, they were so happy to see signs all over, and that people really knew what was coming and knew about it. But they were there to help. They were there to help us with our questions for Kinder Morgan coming up August 19th, and it's been great. It's been a great experience for me. I'm not really a political person, but I felt, as I said, passionate about this.
You know what I felt was really interesting and remarkable? This rolling march started at the border of Massachusetts and New York in Richmond. And every day it went to a different town, and people were there to receive it, and to take the baton, and to take the signs, and to go the next day. It was like clockwork. I mean, I watched it. It was like
my sag wagon met up with Irving and Warwick's sag wagon, and I was able to, okay, here you go. Here's the leftover food. Here's this. Here's the first aid kit. Here's this. And then they took it.
Yeah.
Loved it. Just loved it.
It was
very positive.
Yeah.
Very positive.
The whole, across the entire state.
And yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And then went to Boston for the rally. And yeah. It's very exciting.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know. And you made the rally too, didn't you?
I did.
I know.